So whether you're a patient, a caregiver, a medical professional, we're going to be focused on wellness so that we can see how it is crucial for us so that we can lead that fulfilling and balanced life. That's what we want. We want to have a fulfilling life, a balanced life, and we need to find out what are the best ways or the best key points from some of these two particular interviews that I'll be discussing. How can we apply principles of wellness into our lives? And so we're going to be talking about wellness through collaboration. So we're going to talk about collaboration, community support, continuous learning and improvement, sharing the best practices that are out there, and enhancing our overall wellness. You're listening to Cold Press Conversations with Dr. Jewel White Williams, a lover of numbers, lists, and a good glass of cold press juice, who is sharing episodes each week to help you explore the back end of healthcare and health sciences. Where a lot of that grit is done, we'll dive into topics covering research, education, and clinical practices, as well as guest shows with other leaders in the field. Pull up a seat and let's dive into these amazing and game-changing conversations. Hello and welcome to Cold Press Conversations. I am Dr. Jewel White Williams, and I say welcome to the community of medical and education. And it's a podcast that's out there to help you learn more about who you are so that you can become a better person through wellness. You've got that right. You know, this episode is part of a series, and I am elated that I am able to give you this series. The way that this series will work, and it's called the Summer Wellness Series, it is giving you an opportunity to look a little bit deeper into all the episodes that I had over the first season. And I'm going to be extracting some of the key points so that you can see how it affects you and can help you become a more well-informed person about your wealth of health. Oh, I got something in my pocket about that. But anyway, I'm just happy to have you here. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to discuss this topic because it's going to affect how we think about ourselves each and every day. And we're focusing on wellness. And this particular episode of the series is called Wellness Through Collaboration. So I'm not just talking about something in just in one particular point. I'm not focusing on one area all the time. But this one is about collaboration. Like, how can we collaborate? So whether you're a patient, a caregiver, a medical professional, we're going to be focused on wellness so that we can see how it is crucial for us so that we can lead that fulfilling and balanced life. That's what we want. We want to have a fulfilling life, a balanced life, and we need to find out what are the best ways or the best key points from some of these two particular interviews that I'll be discussing. How can we apply principles of wellness into our lives? And so we're going to be talking about wellness through collaboration. So we're going to talk about collaboration, community support, continuous learning and improvement, sharing the best practices that are out there, and enhancing our overall wellness. So I can't wait to get into the nitty-gritty of this episode. For the wellness series, I try to keep it under 30 minutes for you because guess what? That's all the time we normally have when we're trying to get somewhere or take care of a task. And I just want to make sure that we meet the needs. So to give you a little insight, this episode is based off of two of the episodes that I had. The very first episode that I would like to talk about is with Michael Kaduce, and the second one is with Alex Aste. Both of them are EMS professionals, leaders, educators, and they are clinicians who are practicing in the field of emergency medical services. And what I gathered from them, from the information that they talked about, is that they wanted you to know that there was an importance of collaborating, that there was continuous improvement in one's life. And they focused it on it from an EMS point of view, EMS education. What they are telling you can still be applied to your life in a form of wellness. There will be a little emphasis on sharing some best practices, improving educational methods, even aim to increase our number of qualified healthcare professionals. That's what they focused on as well. Collection of effort to enhance education and quality of practice. So you're saying, well, how can I get all of that for me? So I'm going to focus on, yes, you, the patient, the caregiver, the community health worker, the medical professional. We'll be focused on a collaboration and community support, sharing best practices, and enhancing overall wellness. Those are the three areas that I will be discussing because I really believe that when we have those three, which the two of them discussed, it allows us to expound and expand our knowledge. And that's what we want when it deals with wellness. So, the very first two things, well, the two things that I want to talk about within continuous learning and improvement is number one, adopt a mindset of lifelong learning. I like that because lifelong learning is essential regardless of whether you're a patient, a caregiver, a community health worker, or a health worker that's out there, or someone who's working in the community, assisting with healthcare, or a medical professional. Obtaining additional education, whether it's through a webinar, a conference, it means a lot. So, like for patients, let me give you an example. If it's for patients, and you're everyone out here is a patient of some sort, especially if you go to the doctor, it means that you must stay informed about your own health conditions and the treatment options that are out there. And that is one basic thing that I need you to think about. So we have that mindset of lifelong learning as a patient, which should be every single one of us who is listening to this podcast. It means staying informed about your own health conditions, staying informed about treatment options, staying informed about just how your health is, or if you're on medications, whether that medication has been retracted, or if you are no longer needing medication, what are some other options to maintain the health that you have so that you can remain off of those medications. If you've lost a tremendous amount of weight, that's another thing. So, how do you stay informed about how can I stay at this size without keeping with the same regimen I had before? Because it's called maintenance. What are some key things that I need to know about maintenance? If it's a caregiver, it's about learning new ways or better ways to provide care for the loved one that you have or for the person that you're working with. Yes, we're talking about continuous learning and improvement, adopting the mindset of lifelong learning. For medical professionals, it involves keeping up with the latest advancements in medicine and best practices. We're talking about some really key things here. So, when we talk about continuous learning and improvement, I know in the last episode I discussed that we're focusing on that you could take seminars, webinars, you could go to a community event or forum where they teach you more about what's happening. But you know what? One thing that I remember more than anything is that when I'm in a course or in a class or even just talking to friends, it's about whether or not you have that mindset, whether or not you have that energy to say, hey, I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to find a way to make sure that I am well informed. And that's what I need for you to do. When you adopt that mindset of lifelong learning, you have that opportunity of making sure that you are keeping up with your own health, your own wellness. Now, within continuous learning and improvement, I always say you also need to seek out some educational opportunities just to improve who you are professionally, personally. And some people are like, why do I have to take a course? Or why do I need to attend this? I'm not saying you have to attend it, okay? I know everyone can look at educational opportunities from all different ways. And I'm gonna share some things with you about that. I know we talk about workshops, we know we talk about reading books, taking courses online, engaging in conversations, but they tell you to do those things, but how do you do them? Now, some of the things that come to my mind are Khan Academy. I'm not getting any endorsements, but I do want to let you know Khan Academy is out there for you to learn most subjects if you do not have the bandwidth of something that you would like to learn. Let's say you have an interest in physics. Well, Khan Academy has that. If you want to learn about the body and its function, and you want to learn about anatomy and physiology, Khan Academy has it. There's Ninja Nerd that's out there. There's several nursing podcasts and YouTube videos that are out there. They also have a course, Coursera, I think it's out there. I think it's something like that. There are Harvard has some courses that are not necessarily on their platform, but they have these courses that are for those of us who are out there. We're talking about the regular individuals. There's so many different platforms that are out there where you can learn without paying, and they're valid places to learn. And I just encourage you to learn about that, to gain those other skills so that you consider that what you're doing is helping you. one thing that I cannot resist, and I'm probably going to mention on every episode, is just who I am. Everyone can learn about CPR. If you do not have any knowledge of how to perform CPR, take a class. That's a form of wellness. That way, you can be even more beneficial to those who you're around, your family members, and it just helps you stay informed. There's a first aid seminar, there are first aid courses you can take out there. Do you know that you can encourage your children who do babysit? There's some courses out there for babysitters. Yes, some of the local libraries have it. American Heart Association or American Red Cross, one of the two, has something where it is for those who are babysitters, where they can learn various situations and how to work with that situation and what to do. That's what I'm talking about. Educational opportunities, they're out there for you to learn. You don't necessarily have to sit down behind a computer in a classroom with somebody that's asynchronous or synchronous and have them give you an A or B. There's so many avenues out there where you don't have to even read the book. You can listen to the book. So that is what I'm talking about. Seeking out educational opportunities to help you learn about yourself and how you can help others. I've given you a couple of those hints because when we improve, you improve. When you improve, we improve as a community. And it also keeps us active mentally and engaged. You know, I got to talk about my neurons. I love my neuroscience. So, one of the things about doing this, when you have that act of continuously learning and improving, it gives you that opportunity to really and truly delve in and get into that mindset and get that mind working. It's a way to keep you active. That is wellness. When we talk about our brain needs to be active in the proper things. So when we take in certain foods, and maybe I'll touch on some of the food stuff too, but not on this episode. When we talk about wellness, it's important that we take that opportunity to find ways to enhance our mind so that we can become more cognitive. One thing that I always like to say, even in my emails, is to health and cognitive happiness. That's just something that I love because it's about cognitive happiness. How can we make our brain happy naturally? So when we do it naturally, by continuously learning, we are improving our mind. We're staying mentally active. And that's the way we engage in what we do. All right. I got to move on to my next one. It's calling sharing best practices. So Alex Aste and Michael Kaduce talked about sharing their practices and how they worked with each other, not personally, but with each other persons within their field. Now, how can I make it applicable to you? How can it apply to you? Well, when you share knowledge with someone and experience with others, it creates a culture of openness and mutual learning. And when you do that, you know that knowledge becomes very powerful. I was in a conversation with a friend of mine, and she and I were discussing something. Yeah, hospitals have case managers, chaplains. They have such a huge team there that can help you, or anyone or a loved one that's in the hospital. We were having a conversation about that because we were talking about caregiving our family members. Because I caregave, or I helped 7 members of my family, and I learned a lot in that process. Okay, so that's my excellence. Okay, we have our zone of genius, we have our zone of excellence, and that is my excellence. Somebody I can think of about some of the things that I learned about caregiving and well being. And that's one thing that I learned when I was a caregiver and still a caregiver in a sense, because I'm in EMS and we care for our family members, regardless of them being well or not. Um, Everyday life is a form of caregiving. um, we learn so much about our processes of how we live. And one of the key things that I learned when I was caring for my dad is that their team, at his place, they had a team, and their team was amazing. Shout out to that team. They know who I'm talking about. Several of them have moved on and have gotten bigger jobs and are doing excellency in other places. But I learned so much from them. And they would say, well, we learned this from you. But you know what? That's where knowledge is power. That's where wellness comes in. When you share knowledge and you share experiences with others, it helps others to avoid pitfalls. It helps others to achieve success more quickly. So that's why some people have coaches, some people have therapists. Yep, you heard me. That's why some people have mentors, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a place of openness and a place where people can learn from others. So you're saying, how does that even apply? Meaning sharing best practices with others through wellness. Sharing, I think I'm getting ready to say something. Y'all go ahead. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it one more time. Sharing is caring. Yes, it is. When we share, it shows a form of care. And when we do this, it fosters growth, it fosters improvement with everyone else who's involved. That's what we want to do. We share. I just got off the phone with another friend and we were sharing something else about how we care for ourselves, sharing recipes. We share recipes in our text messages with our friends because we care about each other's what. Hey, guess what? I tried this recipe that was no meat. Oh, I tried this recipe that was a vegetable lasagna with no cheese. I tried this recipe that's what I'm talking about. Sharing overall wellness. Oh, have you tried this particular exercise? I love it. These are things that you do. When you share some things with your friends, your loved ones, that is what matters. We share among our family, we share among our friends. And when we do this, we show that we care for each other and it fosters growth. It allows us to build. I told you it's something about those neurons that I love and just getting our minds active, helping each other improve each and every moment. Now, I want to go over for my third one, which is enhancing overall wellness. So, in the summer series of wellness, we must apply self care and wellness routines. All right. There are some enthusiasts out there. Yes, there are. There's some enthusiasts that are out there who are phenomenal with their exercise routines. They're phenomenal with their wellness routines. And that is good. I'm excited. Everyone has their own pitfalls. My pitfall is not going to a gym, but I do love doing stretching exercises twice a day on the floor for at least 15 minutes, at least. I have multiple balls that I use. I even have a bar that I use. I have some straps that you put on your feet. That's my love. I enjoy that. And then of course I walk. And then with me being an EMS, I'm always outside doing something. Either cleaning the truck, I'm walking around, I'm doing something, always active. So, what I'm saying is enhancing your overall wellness, taking care of yourself is one of those things. But it takes a balance. You have to know when to do your work, you have to know when to do your education, you have to know when to do your personal wellness. You know, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Um and even as you live each and every day, when we look at our enhancing our overall wellness, it is something that we have to revisit. And I'm not a person who likes to say, let's look at our New Year's resolutions. I always like to say, let's look at some goals that we can set. Jewel, what kind of goal would you like to set? So I'll sit down and write maybe 3 goals out for the entire year. And then, of course, I break it down so that I can make sure it's achievable. And that's what we're talking about. Looking at our overall wellness, how can we enhance it? So, like I stated, it's not always about physical. So, what else is it? We're talking about mental, emotional, and social well being. All right, I'm going to hold the brakes. Those 3 areas are the 3 areas that I find that many people tend to evade, not have. So I think a lot of it happened. And it began, of course, with the cell phones, text messaging, and as it evolved, More and more people just started not even writing a letter. They started just to text a person to see how they're doing, or they went on Facebook, or they went on some of the program to see how things were. However, writing that letter, that mind hand thing is amazing. Um, Talking to people in a social setting is something that needs to be built. And sometimes some people need to relearn how to do it. Because after COVID, a lot of people had awkwardness. Some people began to be complacent being by themselves. And that's not something that one needs to have mentally or emotionally, because that social well-being helps you um, become a better person. When we talk about mental health, we're talking about healthy acts that we have, the healthy thoughts that we have. And that's part of well being. It affects our emotional state, it affects our social state. One thing that I didn't bring up is spiritual well being. Mm. And maybe I'll just leave that as is, but some people thrive off of that spiritual well being, so that uh, some people evade it, some people don't. Some people do have a faith, some people don't. But the spiritual well-being is something that some people really like to focus on as well. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a person who likes to mention focus on spiritual well-being, because it allows you to be in a group of people where it's social, and you can gain some emotional awareness of who you are. It interacts with your activity when you're reading whatever that book is that you have in your hand, when you're in your place of worship. It gives you that opportunity to do what you need to do to help develop that mindset and strengthen who you are. It builds that energy that you know that you have. So when we talk about enhancing our overall wellness, we need to take those things, the mental, emotional, social, or spiritual well being part, and practice them in self care. And that's why I said resolutions are nice, but if you set 3 simple goals and revisit them, you have a tendency to make sure that they are complete, or they're in progress, or you can enhance them. I can't leave this out. So, one other item I want to discuss with enhancing your overall well being is nourishing your mind and your body. And I told you, yes, we talked about the physical activity, but we're talking about even our how we eat, how we sleep, how we take that moment of silence. That's important. Some people call it meditation, some call it practice of mindfulness. When you stop for a second, put all of those electronics down, and I literally mean it, take that walk outside and just take it in. It does something for you. That sun on your skin, getting that vitamin D, that moment of wellness, and just being complacent with being just at peace and listening to just the birds chirp. If you're near water, you hear the water flowing. That does a lot, because it helps you balance who you are. It is that little small piece of quietness will enable you to care for yourself and others more effectively. So that's what I'm talking about. That special part of summer wellness. What better time than to become a person who is of nature, or has that chance to really nourish their mind and body by just putting, I can't believe I'm saying I got a podcast, you hear me, but putting the electronics away for about 15 to 30 minutes, not doing a thing other than being outside and getting that fresh air. It will prioritize who you are. It'll give you that chance to start thinking about not much, about yourself more so than anything. And that way you are able to care for others more efficiently as well as yourself. So that's one of the things that I want to make sure that you're able to do. So I know I gave quite a bit. I know that I gave quite a bit in this episode. I focused on my core messages about wellness, of course, but I did focus on wellness through collaboration, community support, continuous learning and improvement, and sharing best practices, overall, enhancing overall wellness. We're focusing on all that because it all deals with collaborating with somebody or something. And that is what helps us gain that broader connection about referring to how the core principles that Michael Kaduce and Alex Aste stated within their fields can be applied to the general public to enhance overall wellness. So it's a form of just translating the focus on collaboration, continuous improvement, best practices, so that we can have actionable strategies so that you can use these strategies in your own life for your own health and for your own well being. You know, when we talk about the wellness journey, it has to be intentional. The effort and the commitment has to be intentional. When you are intentionally embracing in collaboration with others, when you're in a community that supports you, when you reach out and focus on continuous learning and improvement, when you're sharing your best practices with your friends, sharing some ideas, that means you enhance who you are. You become a healthier and more fulfilling person, and you can help others in that process. So that's why I'm bringing this to you in this summer series, that I want you to take these principles to heart. I think it's important because I want you to find a way to make sure that you can apply these items that I just told you today into your daily lives. And it's not just for other people, y'all. I'm talking about you, the wellness for yourself. Because when you do this journey, the journey of wellness, collective journey of wellness, you can achieve such great things. And you can achieve even more when you care for yourself. That's what I want you to do. So before I leave you, I want to make sure that you know that we were focusing on collaboration and community support, continuous learning and improvement, sharing best practices with each other, and enhancing overall wellness. If we do all of these things, we can have a phenomenal world. Now, I just want to leave you. I've got to leave you with something. All right. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening today to Cold Press Conversations on this particular episode on wellness through collaboration. I just want to say until next time, this is Dr. Jewel. I want you to take care and remember that knowledge is power. And when it comes to your health, that you have to remember is off always to your health and to your cognitive happiness. And I'll see you next time on the summer series. You take care. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cold Press Conversations. If you love this episode as much as I did, I need you to head on over and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is Dr. Jewel signing off to health and cognitive happiness.